Looking to expand your existing business? Research shows that 95% of the world's customers are located outside the United States. The New Jersey SBDC Network International Trade Services serve as catalyst to help businesses tap into international markets. Our international trade specialists provide one-on-one consulting, strategic research, market planning, and training to help companies develop and deliver their products and services to overseas markets. Ready to go global? Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Priscilla Liebert-Calder. I am the event coordinator here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. And on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, our regional director, I would like to welcome you to our webinar on leveraging global markets to grow your business. For those of you who may not be familiar with the SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Center, we are a resource center for the Small Business Administration. And we're the premier provider of business consulting and training services to entrepreneurs and small businesses across New Jersey. We are one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network, each center being responsible for one or more counties. We are responsible for entrepreneurs and small businesses in Essex County. We are hosted by the Rutgers Business School, and we're funded through a partnership agreement between the SBA, the Rutgers Business School, and the New Jersey Small Business Action Center. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs and small businesses grow our mission is to help entrepreneurs and business owners grow and sustain their small businesses. And we do this by providing one-on-one business consulting in various areas. It can be if you need help with marketing, or you need help with government procurement, import, export, international trade. You need help with putting together a business plan or strategic planning to grow and expand your business. We have consultants with expertise in these different areas that we can assign to you for one-on-one consulting at no cost to you. This is paid for by your tax dollars. We also provide training services in the forms of webinars and workshops, such as the webinar that you're attending here today. And these are at a nominal fee, or some are at no cost as well. And you're free to attend them across the network. It's just that when it comes to the one-on-one business consulting, you do have to seek out the services of your local SBDC based on the county in which you reside. To take advantage of our no-cost consulting services, feel free to visit our website at www.rnsbdc.com. That's RN for Rutgers-Newark and SBDC for Small Business Development Center.com. And in the top header of our website, you just click on the button that says get counseling or get started, and complete that form. Within 24 to 48 hours, we'll assign you a consultant who will reach out to you to do an assessment. If you're outside of Essex County, you can also fill out that request for counseling on our website, or you can visit www.njsbdc, that's our headquarters, www.njsbdc.com. And from that website, you'll be able to select your county and complete the request for counseling form for your local SBDC. Now, for the benefit of those attending today's webinar, we have a muted audio for the participants. So we'll be taking questions via the chat. Depending on how many participants eventually show up, we may enable that audio, but we just want to ensure that everyone can hear clearly without any interruptions or distractions. So for the time being, we have muted the audio. So please post your questions in the chat box and we'll do our best to respond to those questions either at some point during the presentation or at the end. A copy of this presentation will be emailed out to you within 24 to 48 hours of the end of this webinar, as well as a video recording of the webinar will be sent so that you can refer back to at your leisure. So it's now my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today, Carmen Morris. Carmen is the CEO and founder of Niviari and Associates, as well as Business Mastery Consulting Services. She's also one of our senior consultants here at NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark and helping customers in the area of international trade, strategic planning, as well as helping with credit counseling and financing. So without further ado, I will turn over today's presentation to Carmen.
Thanks, Priscilla. I just want to welcome everyone to leveraging global markets as a way to grow your business and increase sales. We're going to be covering a lot of information today, and I just don't want to overwhelm you with the overall of the industry of export and import. I just want you to just take a few things and a few pointers that you get on this webinar and use it as a starting point as to where you want to take your business or which countries you want to do business with. We're going to be covering today. I don't see okay, there we go. My screen is now changing. We're going to be covering today the importance of considering other markets as a way to grow your business. I'm going to be giving you some of the resources that are available for you to use. Some are free and some are very inexpensive. We're going to also discuss the opportunities of potential markets into the ones that you can go ahead and say, okay, I can go ahead and plan my business and see if I can do business with some specific countries that are now emerging. Also, we're going to discuss the risk of considering to go outside of your territory and outside of the market in which you do business. And also the main thing will be to determine whether your business is ready to step outside into the global market. Now, in the US, we're going to start defining everything from a very basic point, because I know there's some people that may not even know or heard about what international markets are and just heard the word. But defining global markets is just you doing business outside of the country in which your business is located. It's defined as geographically as a market outside the country which your business is located, no matter where you are in the US. And why is it important for us to consider, especially in the times that the difficulties that we have faced, many businesses have faced today with this pandemic that is going on, that we cannot just limit ourselves to do business in a specific place where the markets are just it's getting much, much difficult to acquire market share. Now, one of the competitive advantages of considering global markets is that we in the US, we are known throughout the world to have quality product and services. So people already trust us and trust our sound business practice. That it means that many of our products and services are considered to be very high quality in other countries. Those of you who are from other countries have an understanding that any time in that particular country you want to purchase a product that has been imported from the US to that country, it always costs more and it carries a higher cost because it is always considered to be a higher quality. So if the world is looking at us to do business with us, no matter how small our businesses are, we should go ahead and tap into that demand that is out there. 80% of the world's purchasing power is located outside of the US. So imagine you being able to tap into a market with your product or services, and you're going to hear me talk about the differences between exporting services and exporting a tangible product, which is basically the same thing, but we don't consider as such. So with that 80% of the world's purchasing power being outside of the US, it makes a tremendous difference if we consider that if we are offering a product or service, we can go ahead and tap into other markets. We make an impact in the economy of the US also as well. Export, it's a major part of our economy. Right now is accounting to 12.2% of our GDP. And I'm going to discuss with you a little bit about the gross domestic product, which is what GDP stands for, and what those numbers represent, and why it is important for us as small businesses to consider being part of this number and the impact that it makes. 1 billion in exports of US goods and services supports 5,000 jobs in the US. So this is not something small. And 25% of all manufacturing jobs in the US, everything that is made in the US, it's supported by export. So in order for us to even start considering and getting into the idea, okay, so I am going to take my product or services to another country. Well, how do I do that? Well, now with this, what is going on with this COVID situation, many of us have really gotten the picture that it is easier to do business in other countries today than it was 20 years ago. And now all the platforms that have been set, it's much easier for us to tap into other economies. But in order to be tapping into other economies, we have to understand what is the global economy and what it stands for and who controls it or who manages it. I'm not going to use the word control, but who manages it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the global economy so that you understand what is the impact that it has on your business, no matter how small your business is. So the global economy is basically the economy of the world. It is considered the international exchange of goods and services in monetary units between countries and in dealing with different currencies. So the global economy can be and it can impact your business in tremendous ways. Even if you just do business locally or at a national level in the US, you need to stay on top of this global economy because you need to understand that it also affects us. Because if we cannot get our hands on the cash that is out there, we cannot sell our products or we cannot sell our services. It's very hard for us to grow as a business. So the global economy is basically managed or handled by what is called the IMF. This is the International Monetary Fund. You can Google IMF, you can go and do more intensive research on what they do and the countries that they represent and the countries that they give money out to or lend money to, because this is what they basically do. And the main role of the IMF is that it fosters global monetary cooperation to secure financial stabilities to all its members. Is in about 189 countries. It ensures stability of the international monetary system. When I say the monetary system, is the system of exchange between countries and exchange rates, payments, and enable countries to interact with each other. It facilitates international trade, promoting employment. Remember, as I said, just in the US alone, 25% of all manufacturing jobs are due to the activity of export and import. And 1 billion accounts for 5,000 jobs. So this the IMF facilitates the international trade that promotes employment and sustainable economic growth between countries, especially what is called emerging markets. I'm going to be speaking about emerging markets so that you know who they are and how you can start tapping into these markets and how you can start thinking of the product and services that are needed there in order for you to start doing business with them. So in continuing with the IMF, they were established in 1944. And I don't know if you can see my arrow here. So if you look at this chart that I have now in front of you, the total amount that the IMF is able to lend to countries, it's 1 trillion. So that is a whole lot of money, $1 trillion. And there are 189 members. It may be a little more by now, but this was what it was in 2019. So when I say 189 members, these are countries that form this whole organization. And they lent out $1 trillion. And sometimes it's lent out at a 0 interest. So when you're making your research as to which countries you want to try to do business with, the main thing that you need to do is you can go to this, the IMF website or the World Bank that will give you a lot of data and information on everything that is going on and which countries are getting what money. And some of these countries get the money at a 0% interest, especially those countries that are emerging and that are third world countries that don't have the ability to pay at a higher interest rate. So that's how the IMF considers it. So this is one indicator that you can use when you start doing your research as to which market you should explore. You can start by seeing, well, where is the IMF giving these loans? Remember, I said that if their money and the currency is not out there for those countries to manufacture or for those countries to purchase services, it is very hard for you to get your hands on that money. But the way you can start researching and using these as point of reference is that you can see the countries that the IMF is lending money, especially at a 0% interest. The reason they do this is to promote employment and to facilitate trade for the third world countries to exchange and to interact with more developed economy. So one of the, as I mentioned, the gross domestic product before, this is one number that I, for instance, been using for years. I look into it, and anytime I'm doing a study for one client that is considering putting a product or service in another country, this is where I start. The GDP, the gross domestic product, is one of the primary indicators of the health and stability of a particular country. So this is what you look at. The first thing that you see is if this number fluctuates down or up or stay consistent, you'll see, okay, it is safe for me to go do business in this country. And I'm going to speak more about it. I'm going to show you in terms of percentages. When you're considered to do business in a particular country, what are the numbers that should be the cutting line in which you say, okay, is it 3%, 1%? Where do I get started? But I'm going to show you once I get to the slide as to how I choose a specific emerging market for me to export my product or services. And as I said before, I'm going to continue to talk about product or services because the service industry, the base, is the one that never thinks that they can go ahead and export their services to other countries. And this is right now is the highest, is the most seek for industry right now. And I'm going to give you the list of the services that are being that are being published out there as the services that are being required from these emerging markets. The GDP, it represents the value of all finished goods and services produced in a particular country. It also is also calculated once a year. Now, in more advanced economy or more developed economies like the US, certain parts of Europe, and also the UK, they calculate this number quarterly, and they use this data to compare to other factors that affect the economy. But the GDP should be your number one indicator when you're choosing a country. It includes all the private and public consumptions, even government outlets and investment, and export less imports. I want you to understand this part when you're looking at this number. Export less imports, which means anytime you export anything outside of the US, you consider that you're making a sale. So that means money coming into the US. But anytime you bring something from another country, that means you're paying for that particular item or container. So that means that that money is going out of the US, that there's currency going out of the US. So this is why is export less import is what the number that factors into the GDP. Now, another thing that you should consider about this number is that the GDP can be politically induced, especially in third world countries. I have had experiences in which they have shown me. I was once at a conference, borderless conference in Ghana, and the representative from the World Bank was giving data and numbers, and there was a number that didn't make sense to me. And at that point, the currency in that country was 1.5, which was $1 to 1.5 CDs, which is a currency in that part of West Africa. And I was questioning, because I was looking at the numbers and I was questioning the prediction that the person from the representative from the World Bank that was giving the presentation was saying that this is how strong it's going to be in West Africa and this is what's going to happen. But those numbers didn't make sense to me. But 3.5 years later, I saw it that those numbers were being politically induced, and the reason it didn't make sense to me was because it was fictitiously inflated. So you have to also look for these things. This doesn't happen much in big economies, like in developed countries like the US, Europe, some parts of Europe, and Canada, but it does happen. So you have to really learn how to read these numbers before you make your decision. This is what the export percentage of the GDP. You see how the numbers keep going up and up and up. And I'm going to leave it to you to find between the year 2012 and 2014, there was a big enactment by President Obama that focused a lot on the export. And that's the reason why these numbers went up to 13.54. But then in 2016, we were in a political year. We can all remember that. And now, and it went down a little bit, but then it went back up. And it stayed at this rate. It hasn't grown much because of what we have going on, the trade war and other things that do affect us as small businesses, but sometimes we don't take notice of. But I wanted to share this percentage with you so that you see when you look at the percentage, how they tend to fluctuate and how you can see how you can use these numbers. Now, what is an emerging market? Remember, I said to you, there's some markets that you should look into and consider. I only work with emerging markets. I used to work with just anyone who requested a container from somewhere or a product. then I found the best solution and I found the best product and put it there. But I only work in certain markets because of the continuity of the services they continue to request. And it's easier for you to focus on one market as opposed to just starting to place your product and services in all different markets, even in markets that there's no demand for it. So in emerging markets, those are developed economies that have some of the characteristic of a developed market. These economies are up and coming. They are using the product and services that a developed economy, and they always look up to us, the US, and most parts of Europe. In these countries, there's also an emerging market may be a country that was already developed, but is no longer at that place because of some unfortunate situation. I always see it as lack of leadership. I always see this when you study different markets in different countries, that what you see is that if they were developed at one time and they're not anymore, is either due to war or a big tragedy or something of that nature. For one of the examples that I use is Venezuela. Venezuela was a very developed market many years ago, and today it's suffering a lot. I learned my experience a few years ago when I sent a container to Venezuela, and we could never find the merchandise, and it was due to the political situation that was going on in there. But this, when you're considering an emerging market, there's a lot of factors that you have to look into. I know this is a lot of information, but this is your starting point where you can start asking the questions and doing your research in which market to choose. Now, the top US services that are exported to this market, remember, these are developing economy. In developing economy, they start with tourism, but the main one out of all this list, transportation, financial services, entertainment, telecommunications, information, the main one is education. I am able to talk about this because this is one that I use in about 4 continents that I have been, and I have provided services in education and training. Also, information is a huge one. If you are an educator and you can provide services of data information, is a huge one. Reports and collecting data to different organizations, and even at a government level in these emerging markets. Information that we have access to in the US, very easy and very simple. In these other emerging countries and emerging markets, it's very difficult for them to gather data to make decision for a certain business or a certain project that they're doing. So between information and education, I would say, and entertainment, I would say are the first 3 services that are being exported to these emerging markets, this developing economy, as I said. These are the most important trading partners in the US, to the US. Mexico, and I always say Mexico just moved there to the first place, but it used to be China prior to 2018, almost the end of 2018. China started coming down, and the things that we started trading with China were completely down. And we all know the stories. If you hear the news, you hear a lot about the trade war with China and what has been going on. But I'm not going to go into that. I just want you to make an observation here. Mexico is our closest ally. We border with Mexico. So it's simple and easy. Mexico it's importing a lot of things into the US, but we are also exporting evenly, and this number can be higher. and Canada also as well. But if you look at China, we're still getting a lot of more imports than what we export to China. And this is one of the things that we can also consider in saying, okay, China is not an emerging market. China is considered to be a developed economy also as well. But if you look at the level of trade, imports is the light blue and exports is the dark blue. Between Mexico and Canada, it's almost a pretty healthy, even Canada is a very healthy number. But China is like very low, so is Japan, and it goes on and on. But I wanted you to start looking at these charts, and you can go to the World Bank website and get a lot of data and a lot of information on these top trading partners and how you can go ahead and see what they're doing and how they do it. So I'm going to talk about the emerging markets and the markets that I explore. I'm going to talk about the ones that I'm experienced with. There's many markets out there. I only talk about 3 here for the sake of time. And I'm going to go specifically to the numbers and how you can get started and give you the steps to take. If you have a product or service and you can look into one of these markets that are emerging markets, it's wonderful because you have no idea of the opportunities that and the doors that open to your business. And it's not as hard as we think it is. So Colombia, this is a South American country, and they're predicting, for some of the economists are predicting that Colombia will be growing at a 4.3% growth this year in 2021. That's a huge jump from what it is right now, but is a market, Colombia is a market that I became familiar with about 10 years ago. And now that Colombia has evolved to a place where they have their characteristics that they're showing are the characteristics of a very developed country, with the exception that there's still kind of some barriers in the poverty level that is showing. So that's why it's not shown as a developed economy. Now, Mexico is also, it has a growth about 4% in spite of the economy that are facing really harsh time, like including us in the US with this pandemic. Mexico is still managing and handling their growth very well. Now, Peru this is the 6th largest economy in South America and growing in spite of the problems that go on in Argentina and Brazil. But I'm going to discuss each and every one of this economy individually. So when I go and I look at a specific country that I want to say, okay, I think I can match my services, my product and services with this in this country. Let me try to find out about Colombia. So the population is 50 million, 0.34. Now, this is the information that you can get at the World Bank. If you get the PDF of this presentation, you can click on the link for the World Bank and you can get most of the information on a particular country. The GDP annual growth. Remember, I told you that this is one of the numbers that I look at to make my decision whether I want to explore that market. It's from the growth, if you see an economy growing at a 3.3% from 2001, that's pretty healthy. That's a place that you say, okay, I don't think I'm taking a big risk here. I can go ahead and start doing my research and see where can I place my product or service and how can I package it? How can I place it there in a way in which I would be successful? The language is Spanish, but you will have no problem with translation. You will have, if you only speak English, it's very simple. Because there's most of the business industry, people speak English as a second language. It's $1 is 3,535 Colombian pesos to $1. One thing you need to pay attention to is the currency. If it fluctuates, the times and levels in which it fluctuates, how fast it fluctuates. Like if you have a shipment that is going to Colombia and you sold it at a specific time, you need to see that the fluctuation of the currency, it's stable also as well. So Colombia is located in a place where it's very accessible, is a developing, emerging market, a developing economy, and is also borderlines with Peru, which is another emerging market. But Colombia has had a lot of, in the last few years, have had a lot of problems with the migration from Venezuela into Colombia because of the political situation that, in economic situation that is being lived in Venezuela. So that migration took a big toll in Colombia, but it was good for many exporters, especially people from the US and Panama and other countries, because these people in Venezuela, the only way they could consume the products that were coming in is if they got it from Colombia. So that was kind of a good increase to many of us, but it faced a harsh situation in terms of people migrating, and that had a toll also on the economy, but it didn't stop them from growing. So, and it borders also with Ecuador, which is another emerging market. I don't talk about it too much, but I myself go to Ecuador once a year. But I see that there's also a lot of opportunities with different products that are in this economy. Now, the other one emerging market I want to talk about was Mexico. I have been working with Mexico since 1997, and I see how all the trade agreements have changed. I see how things have changed, and I see the big opportunities that are in starting to try to do business with Mexico. Number one is the proximity to the US. We border with Mexico, and it's very simple for you to service someone with your product and services in Mexico. Since 2004, Mexico have been shown to have substantial growth in the at a rate of 2%. The language is Spanish. And if you look at it right now, the currency is $1. 20 pesos and 20 cents, Mexican pesos equals $1. So which is that it's kind of fair, and it's not so high. So there's not so much risk when it comes to currency. Mexico, the proximity, like I said, to the US is the number one thing that attracted me to look into this emerging market. Although I have been working with Mexico for many years, I used to manufacture a lot of things in Mexico in the late 90s and early 2000s. But now there's a lot of products. This is an economy that is very, very well developing. And the only thing that has kept them from being considered a developed economy is the poverty level of certain countries, which is one criteria that a country has to exhibit in terms of their poverty level, where it is. But Mexico is a very attractive place to where you can start exporting your product and services. It borders with Guatemala, which is also a huge problem to Mexico in terms of migration and other countries. Anytime you have a border, excuse me, with another country, it affects the migration level affects the country's economy. But with Mexico, it continues to be pretty healthy, especially in the area of travel and tourism. This is a service that Mexico is very well known for. and it could be very beneficial for those who are in that industry to start exploring what they're doing. Now, the other economy I wanted to talk about, the other emerging market was Peru. I do business in Peru for many years also as well. The population is 32 million. Their GDP has a substantial growth, consistent growth from 2002 to 2019 at a 2.2% level. That is healthy also as well. I consider to have a certain threshold of percentage in which I said, okay, from this on is where I would choose this specific market. The official language again is Spanish, but as I said before, in the business world, you wouldn't have a problem if you wanted to start doing business or looking for someone to connect with, to start doing someone who's selling your same type of something similar that complements your product or services. And look at the exchange rate. It's 3.64 Peruvian Nuevo Sol to $1, which the difference is not as much. In Peru, look at where it's located. It's borders with Colombia and Ecuador, which are also two emerging markets, which means that if you have someone here distributing in Peru, distributing for you or selling your product and services, you can very easily get into these two other markets that are also developing economies. So these are the things that I consider. These are the countries that I am actually doing business with right now. And I recommend that you also, if you are from a particular country, that you look into doing business with the country you're also familiar with, because you would know the systems and you would know what to do once your product is over there and penetrating that market. And even according to the Institute of International Economics in the US, they consider that it's less likely for you to go out of business if you start exporting your services and looking into other markets to take your product and services. 8.5% less likely to even go out of business. They even study these things. So growth to your business can be considered, the growth of your business, you can look into looking into other markets as making that one of the pillars of to grow your business. Now, I'm going to go and discuss 10 steps that you can start doing like right now today to start planning how to place your product or services in other markets. Now, but first I want to ask you if there are any questions. If anybody have any question, before I start here, Priscilla, are there any questions? Can you open the microphone? Are you there?
Hi, Carmen.
Hi, who is this?
Takoa.
Hi, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought it was Priscilla there. Can you go ahead and see if there are any questions?
Okay, no problem. So we have one.
Okay.
From Ethel Hazard, it looks like. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, how can a U.S. company get compensated to develop, build, and establish a trade export mission with a country that doesn't currently have one?
Can you say that again? How can a U.S. company, mission trip, you mean?
This is how can a U.S. company get compensated to develop, build, and establish a trade export mission with a country that doesn't currently have one?
By getting all the information and gathering all your data and starting the project yourself. If your company is the one who wants to start this project and want to start this mission, or I don't quite get, is it a mission trip or is it a mission to just go ahead and take your product or services to that particular country? You can start, your first stop should be the US Department of Commercial Services, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this and what and the resource and the help that they have to get you started.
Okay, great. So our next question is from Ethel as well. It says, what are the entrepreneurial realities for newly licensed, non-bonded custom brokers?
Newly licensed, non-bonded custom brokers. If you're non-bonded and you need to put your services in a place where you need to be bonded, the first thing is that you can get all that information from the Customs and Border Protection Department and see what are the things that you need to do in order for you to go ahead and penetrate that particular market. But if you're bonded, it depends on where your services are needed. If you're newly licensed, if you're a newly licensed broker, you have an extensive amount, and you're located in the US, you have a wide open range of places where you can put your services that are needed for companies that would only trust your services as a broker, especially companies that are in the US and want to do business in other places and need your services. But if you're newly licensed and you're not bonded yet, look at the categories of the companies that will use your services.
Our next question is, can a U.S. exporter or services target/market to a specific region? For example, Colombia, Quibdó versus Cartagena for technological consulting services. Sorry.
Can you read the question again? I want to make sure I want to answer all aspects of the question.
Sure. So the first part is, can a U.S. exporter or services target/market to a specific region?
Yes, definitely. And you're going to target to a specific region depending on the need. You could look at trends. You could look at data that is available to you. So you target a specific region depending on the need of that region for your services.
Okay, so the second part says, for example, Colombia, Quibdó versus Cartagena for technological consulting services.
If it's technological consulting services, and you see, I see a lot of those services being requested at a government level. So you can look at the data that is available to you, and you can start with the commercial services and the reports. There are reports that you can purchase that will give you all that statistics and all the data that you need to make a decision on which way to go.
Okay, and our next question is, will you speak about women-run business enterprises in Peru, Colombia, and Mexico? What opportunities exist for knowledge-based services from a U.S. business?
Well, women-owned businesses, let me just tell you, women in international trade, I actually belong to a big organization of women in international trade. And we are the ones that least approach big projects in different countries. I very rarely find women, especially in the tangible products exporting of different commodities, exporting at a large scale. So there are a lot of opportunities. And on this webinar, I'm not speaking about women in international trade, but there are, as women, there are a lot of opportunities. And even in some agreements, women are given the opportunity to go fulfill certain contracts in different countries. So I know that I get a lot of information from the UN that have different needs in different countries. And when it comes to women, we are the least, the group, that smallest group that fulfill these contracts. So there are a lot of opportunities, but I'm not going to be speaking on this webinar about women in international trade and the opportunities out there. No.
Okay, and the second part of that question was, what opportunities exist for knowledge-based services from a U.S. business?
Especially in U.S. market, in emerging markets, lots of opportunities, a lot, especially in the educational and training, a lot of opportunities. If you have a skill of a certain level that is beneficial in terms of training for that developing market and economy, you are approaching the right clients, can be a tremendous opportunity to you.
Okay, great. So our next question is, has Mercosur agreements negatively impacted specific South American countries?
Well, it has in a way, but not really. It's not really all negative. So I'm not going to talk about trade agreements in this webinar, but you can, when you're doing your research and looking into, I'm going to show you the place where you can go and find out about all trade agreements that are available and the pros and cons of these agreements, and if it's beneficial to you.
Okay, great. So we have two attendees asking, what about Africa? What about
a lot is about Africa. I've been doing, I just haven't been to West Africa, maybe in the last year or so, but there is a lot going on, especially in one of the developing economies like Nigeria and South Africa, Zimbabwe. There's a lot about Africa. I used to do a lot of business in Angola, which is still an emerging market, and Kenya also. As little as they are in terms of markets, if you do your research in this developing, if you have a skill or a product or service in this developed country like the US that we are in, taking it to a third world country, it can be of tremendous growth to your business. And it's not as hard as we think it is. But there is a lot in Africa, a lot.
Okay, that was our last question. We do have a comment from one of the attendees that asked the question that just said, your answers are fabulous, Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me continue with the 10 steps to getting started. If you're simply never even consider it and you say, well, Carmen, I want to get started and I have a great skill. I have a great product. I have a great master class, a great training that I put together. And I think it'll be successful if I can sell it somewhere else. This is the place, the 10 steps that I put together where you can simply just go ahead and get started. Construct an export plan. What is it that you're taking? What is your service? Define the product or service that you have. Are you going to just go ahead and do drop ship, which is one thing that I speak about. I'm not going to speak about this here, but if it's a product that is in the US and you said, okay, I want to place it in Ecuador or somewhere in West Africa, this has to be part of your plan. In this export plan, you have to understand that you're going to have to define where, in terms of marketing, who am I going to do business with? Am I going to have a sales representative? Am I going to form alliance? That is the number step. Let me just go back because I think I jumped from, instead of constructing an export plan, I think I started on number 4 instead of number 1, doing your research and starting to gather all your data. As I show you, I start with indicators. If I choose the country, it has to be a developing country because it's easier for me to fulfill the need because I already know that there is a need. So I don't have to guess or I don't have to do a deep research into constructing on my export plan. So is there a need for the products and services that I am offering in that particular market? Can I make money? Can it be profitable to me, to my company? And it's implementing the strategy and focusing on the profit margin that you're also going to have within your export plan. This strategy has to have a detailed plan as to how it is that you're going to make money. Am I selling at the right prices? Can this market tolerate? Let me give you an example. In West Africa, I took a product and it was packaged in a way that it was too, the price was too high. So it was not tolerable to that particular market. So what I had to do was that instead of 8.3 ounces, I had to go to a 4-ounce packaging. That was, I was able to work with. And part of my plan that I included in that was that because of the price, I was still able to package it at a smaller scale and it was acceptable by that market. So when you're offering your product of services, when you're putting your plan together, that a strategy, always keep in mind, can they afford me and can I make a profit? Getting paid on time, it's the number 3. This is extremely, extremely important. When you are working outside of the US and you send the products out there, or you have provided the services and you have not gotten paid, it is very, very difficult for you to recuperate that money. You will have to go through certain agencies and sue and spend a lot of time, and it's not worth it. So I learned something really, really good from the Chinese many years ago when I started working in China. When I started working with China, I learned from them that you get paid upfront. I don't know of any company, you have to be at a very high level or big company that you start creating in doing many years with different companies, that you start creating a relationship with any Chinese company that they will give you credit. You got to pay them ahead. I learned this from them. So my requirements to any companies I do business with is if you place the order and it has to be with a tangible product that is at a manufacturing level, you have to pay me 50% upon order and the other 50% upon inspection of the merchandise. So before it gets to you, my company has been paid for. If you are providing a services, you give a certain amount of assurance to a particular client and you say you have to pay me up front. This is my requirement and this is how we do business. If you're not satisfied, then you can have a clause in which if you're not satisfied, I can return you or whatever, but you assure your payment that you get paid ahead. That's what I do so I don't get affected in terms of cash flow. So you have to define and establish your payment methods and terms before you start providing your services somewhere else. So the number 4 is, as I said before, is to construct a plan. Once you have defined that market, on your plan, you have to have the strategy on how to penetrate and in terms of market shares, how to penetrate that particular market. They are, if you go to export.gov, which is one of the resources I'm going to give you further ahead in the presentation, you can go ahead and follow some of the export plans that they have. They might be speaking and talking about a bigger company or bigger ways of making a plan, but you can just go ahead and simplify it to your terms and to your business, no matter how small it is. Now, this you can also go ahead and, as number 5 says, sales representative, and or hire a rep or form alliances with other companies. One of the things I normally did anytime I traveled to a country is that I went out in the marketplace. I went out to the supermarket, to the biggest mall, and I saw the things that were on the shelf, and I saw the things that were lacking. And some of the I made alliance with different supermarket chains in which I put stuff on their shelf at a 30-day consignment. I was not giving them credit, but I was overseeing that operation when I was there. And I formed an alliance with a different sales rep who would, for a minimum amount, because of the currency exchange, these people can work for you. But you have to remember, you have to, making this part of your plan has to be the way you're going to market and how you're going to make the sales and have a sales. Are you going to manage the sales operation? Is it going to be a distributor? Who is going to be? That has to be part of your plan. Then you can go to customs and logistics. How is this going to be shipped? Or how is, what is it, who is going to give me the information, on ground information? I would talk to you about the Department of Commercial Services and who they are and how they can assist you. They have free services, but they also have paid services that you can take advantage of. If they can give you a report on ground, because these are people that are from the US Department of Commerce and Department of Commercial Services, they work at the embassy and they work there for you, for US companies to make the connection. I once made the connection with the representative, that this was like about 8 years ago or 9 years ago, with the representative for US Commercial Services that worked at the US Embassy in Ghana, West Africa. And she provided me with a lot of information that I use for a product that I started exporting there. So customs and logistics, anything you want to know, you can go to US Customs Borders and Protection. That website will give you a lot of information, or work with also commercial services. Now, I would talk to you about who they are further along in the presentation. Number 7 is contact a freight forwarder. Most of the local freight forwarder, if you have a tangible product that you need to transport to another country, they will give you a lot of information. There's a lot of them in Newark, Elizabeth, anywhere that you see a seaport, there's a lot of brokers and there's a lot of information. For the person who made the question about a newly licensed broker, you can start working with this company and offering your services, start offering your services on a freelance basis. So you can start getting yourself out there. You can also classify your product. I don't do this for my clients anymore. You can do this yourself, or you can go ahead and ask someone who, some companies that this is all they do. They classify your product and services and tell you if you're paying the accurate duty on it, or if your client, this is information you need to know so that you can provide your clients when someone calls you and said, oh, I want a container full of this type of commodity and I want to export it out there. Or you are a manufacturer in the US and you sending the product out there. It should be classified. The reason it should be classified is because if it's a, let's say a recording device, and it can fall under what a speaker category. It carries less duty, and by you knowing into what category to place your product, it can save you a whole lot of money. So these are some things that you should also consider and look into your plan. See the cooperative relationships. Can the customers be sales agents, distributors, trading companies? Are you going to work with suppliers or personally cultivate the relationship with yourself? So you can look at these relationships that you can, or do you know somebody in a specific country that you're a teacher, let's say you know a trainer, that you can start collaborating and saying, I can come there and train, or I can make you part of my training masterclass online, in which you can come in, and any person that you bring, I can give you a referral. There's many things that you can do. If it's service-based, if it's product-based, you can contact somebody in that particular country. I personally like to go there myself. I know with the COVID situation, this is kind of hard now, but if you know someone that you can start collaborating and developing a relationship with, and that person can be your eyes on the ground, that's another point that you should cover. And number 10, make sure that you check the red list. This is the list of countries that you do not do business with because they have some type of embargo or some way in which you are restricted to do business with. For whatever the reason is, I don't even need to know. I normally just look and see if I'm doing business with someone or in a particular country, and I see that that person or country is on that list, I don't touch it, because it's strictly your responsibility, and you'll be completely banned forever from doing business or exporting to another country or to outside of the US, from exporting in total if you don't look at this. So look at the Office of Asset Control, the OFAC. They have sanctioned programs, and they have all the information that you need and that you shouldn't worry about. So in moving forward, remember I was talking to you about the resources and where to go first as a company. Look into the Department of Commercial Services in the US. This is a, we are in about 80 plus countries. They have services about what is called golden key services, in which they offer you reports. You can go on mission trips, on trade mission trips. I've been on many. I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to Africa. I've been to Brazil. I've been to many mission trips in which they match me with the different buyers that they have there. So they give you these services. They have a buyers matching program in which you have to fill out an application once a year. I believe the application is out in July, but you can find that information strictly directly from them if you go to their website and inquire about matching your product or services with the right partner or buyer in another country. There are about 100 export assistants throughout the US. There's one in Newark, there's one in North Jersey. They're everywhere, in which they have a representative that can assist you and work with you. Now, commercial services have a person on the ground at each US embassy in all these countries. These person's responsibility is to make sure that you can get the right connections and connect with the right people in different countries. So you can find out, even if you are visiting a country when our traveling starts again, if we ever get there, but I'm hoping that we can get there one day. The things that you can do is you can always call them and give them at least 24 hours to make an appointment to go talk to this person. I did this in West Africa. I did it in Ghana. I went to the embassy. I sat there with the people from commercial services. These are the people that are on ground. They can provide you with a lot of information about what you need to do to make the proper connection, to talk to the delegates, because they have the list of companies that want to do business with US companies. So they already know who they are and who are these people that are seeking your product or services. So this is a great resource that is very inexpensive, and even some of the information they provide to you is free. This is one of the government agencies that are available there to you. Now, there's also the International Trade Administration, the ITA. This is the branch of the government and the organization that gives you market access and compliance. So if you think that you need a license, if you think you need to have to do any compliance with the type of things that you do, this is the place that you can get that information. They're ensured fair trade and market compliance with the trade laws and agreements to those trade laws. So in this agreement, they make sure that everything is complied with. They promote economic growth and prosperity to the global trade, and it helps the US trade laws to be enforced. So anything that you having a problem or experiencing any problem, this is the place that you can go find out how you can resolve that trade barrier or issue that you're having. Now, the free and inexpensive resources are, as I said before, the Department of Commerce, Department of Commercial Services. There's one in North Jersey. You could go to export.gov and find out about all the trade agreements. There's a lot of information on export.gov. Do not get overwhelmed. Keep it simple. If you want to go and find things about a specific country, you can go get that information there, but don't get overwhelmed and go all over the place with all the information they offer. If you get kind of confused, get straight to what you're looking for. If you're looking for the advantages of free trade in a particular country that you are looking into exporting your product or services, then go straight to that information. Do not get overwhelmed in watching all the videos, because then you'll be all over the place and you will not do anything with the information that is provided to you. Too much information is not good because it'll confuse you. You can also go to stopfakes.gov and find out ways in which you can protect your intellectual property, the things that you write, your brochures, the things that you advertise. How can you protect that in another country? They can give you that information also as well. And trade.gov, in reporting the trade barriers. If you find any type of barrier in a particular country in which you feel that it's not fair and that they're discriminating or doing anything to you, they're the ones that can also assist you. So these are all the assistance and all the resources that you can get in the US. Some of them are free or very inexpensive. So I'm going to open it up for question, but I just wanted to just go ahead and recap on everything that we have discussed in terms of getting started, excuse me, in a way in which you can go and keep it simple and start planning and seeing how you can expand your business to other markets and how you can go ahead and acquire market share in another country. When you start doing your research, remember that understanding the global economy is very, very important, because you can use it as an indicator of which countries to choose and which markets to go to. Beware of the risks and challenges of conducting businesses in another country, how you can protect your payments, how you have to set your payment terms. I gave you the 10 steps, and looking are the things that you can go ahead and start doing. With the increasing purchasing power that is outside of the US, especially with how we're doing business today, that a lot of things are being done virtually, it is extremely, extremely important that you understand how some of these demands can affect your business and how some of these demands can be beneficial to your business. So identifying the global opportunities, it's key. And finding the right international partners can be a way in which you can get started and facilitate the way for you to penetrate that market. It is also important to develop a clear strategy of your e-commerce, which is the way that a lot of people are going in order to go ahead and stay connected to the rest of the world. So if you're looking at all the resources that are available, and if you have any questions, remember that we offer free counseling. If it gets to the point in which you need extra assistance, there's other counselors that offer their services at a level that have to include the way in which you implement the services that are being required. So you can ask to work with a counselor. You can always contact me and ask any questions. You can send me an email. I don't promise you that I would answer you the same day, but you would get an answer. So if you need any information, my email is info@carmenelmorris.com. You can contact me that way. You can call the center and set up an appointment for a few counseling sessions in which we can go ahead and provide you guidance in the way in which you want to go ahead and put your products and services in another country. So right now I'm going to open it up for questions, since we have been on this webinar for almost an hour and a half. So I'm going to open it up for questions. And if you have any questions, please write them down and let us know.
Okay, so we do have a question/comment from Ethel. It says, ensuring that you get paid and even getting paid upfront, isn't that the fiscal story for all MWBEs?
Well, ensuring that you get paid, it should be, you can have your payment terms depending on the relationship that you have with the clients or the market that you're doing business with. I have formed collaboration with other countries and people in other countries in which we work together. And so I don't get paid ahead. We just do the work, and once we finish that and the monies are deposited in that particular bank, then we disperse it. So it depends on how you set your payment terms. I like, if it's a tangible product, I work like the Chinese, I get paid ahead. If it's a service also that I'm providing, I also get paid ahead depending on the type of agreement that I have with specific clients.
Great, and our next question is from Carol. She says, I used to import organic produce like soursop or guanabana from the Caribbean and resell online here in the US. The farmers I worked with wanted to ship soursop to the UK through my business. Will these resources assist US business that would like to ship internationally from other countries, i.e. a US-based business shipping bananas from Jamaica to the UK?
Can you open the microphone to that person, to care, so I can understand the question, because she has a threefold question there. I want to make sure that I give her the right guidance. Can you please ask me verbally exactly what is the question? What is it that you need to know so that I can guide you to the right resources?
Sure. Give me 1 second, please.
Okay. Just bear with us. I just want to hear exactly, so I don't give you the wrong information. I want to make sure I guide you through the right process and resources. I think if you just unmute everyone.
Yeah, give me 1 second because I don't have co-host ability. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, Carol, I'm gonna unmute you now, okay?
Thank you. Hi, Carmen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead and
Hi.
ask your question. I just wanted to make sure that I give you the right information and
Yeah.
the right way to do it. So your question is that you have some of the farmers that are providing for you
Mm-hmm.
would like you as a U.S. company to export the product from where? What is the where is the point of origin? Is it the Caribbean, going
Yes.
directly from the Caribbean into the UK?
Yes.
Or is the product coming into the US and going to the UK?
Well, I was originally, the way my business worked, I imported the soursop from the Caribbean, from
Mhm.
different islands like Jamaica, St. Lucia, for example. I would import it, Grenada, that's another primary one. I would import it into the US and I was reselling here in the US to US based customers. But I built a relationship with the farmers in the Caribbean. And eventually, one of the farmers and we got into discussion about exporting soursop from Grenada to the UK. That was going to be the next step of growth in my business, was to start like international shipments from Grenada to the UK, but I wasn't exactly sure how to go about it. So I kind of
Okay,
put a
this
hold
is
on
how
it.
okay, so this is how you do it. Is it's food consumption, right?
Yes, it was a whole fruit.
Okay,
Yes.
so and you already have the approval because you already bringing it into the US, right?
Yes, we were bringing it
So
into the
it'll
US.
be a very simple process for you to do the same process into the UK, because as a US company, now what you're doing, this is going to be considered as a drop ship.
Okay.
You're going to take the product from point A to point B, and it doesn't have to come to you at point C.
Correct.
Okay, so and it's fine. You can do that, and it's the same process that you use in bringing it into the US that you have to use in taking it into the UK, but it's coming from you. You as a US based company,
Mm-hmm.
the manufacturer, it'll be coming as a product that is yours and is coming from you. You have to understand this.
Okay.
The client in the UK does not know who is the person, the manufacturer or anything. All the information will be your company.
Oh,
So
okay.
you will be the one exporting it. It's just coming from another country, but it's not like, for instance, let me give you a example. I sold a container of soap, Lux soap, to Venezuela a while ago. And it was coming from my company, but the product was being manufactured in Malaysia. So it was coming directly from Malaysia into Venezuela. It never came into the US, but it was me, the US company, exporting it to Venezuela.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Okay.
did you have to set up your US based business in
Yes.
Malaysia, essentially?
No.
Okay.
You are registered US company, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all you need. No, I don't need to set up anything. The client is already, my client was in Venezuela waiting for the product. I was selling the product that was coming from Malaysia.
Okay.
So it was like a drop ship, but at a container level.
Okay.
But you have to look at all the regulations that are needed at point B. Like if it's in the UK, there's regulations that are needed for food consumptions, and this is why you have to classify the product. So the same process that you did to bring it into the US is the same process that you do to bring it from the point of origin to the UK, because the only problem is getting the right clearance and customs declaration and clearance in the UK. Leaving is not a problem, is getting it into the UK.
And
So
their
as long as
inspection
you have that
procedures.
covered, you're fine.
Right.
So you do the same process. You don't need to bring it to the US. You can just go ahead and get it directly from point A to point B without coming to you.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. And I wouldn't have to, for example, go to St. Lucia and set up any sort of shipping or exporting parameters from there to get it to go out.
Well, okay, if it's coming from St. Lucia, there's there is requirements that product has to get into the UK. Like I said,
Right.
It's not St. Lucia is not your problem. Your problem is the UK, that it gets in there and it gets clear.
Right. Okay.
That's what you have to look.
Okay, I'll have to look into the UK procedures for basically like for produce, essentially, because that's what it is. It's like mangoes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
And that falls into the agriculture, okay?
Yes.
And agriculture needs a license. Did you know that? I don't know at what level you're bringing it into the US.
Yes,
but
I have.
It requires a license.
Yes, I had the permit from USDA for when I was bringing it in.
Product. It's the same system.
Okay.
So you can always, if you have any questions, Carol, you can always call the center and set up an appointment, and we can have a conversation, a more detailed conversation on this.
Okay, great. Can you all post the number in the chat, please?
Yes, but the number is, can you post the number is 973-353-5950. You can call for a counseling.
Okay, thank you so much, Carmen.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
We do have another question from Khadija. And Khadijah's asking, can I ask you by audio message? She wants to unmute herself to ask her question.
Okay, go ahead, Khadija. I don't know if I know Khadija, but it sounds familiar. Go ahead. Yeah, can you unmute her?
Yes. Okay, Khadija, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello. Hi, Carmen.
Hi, is this Khadija, the Khadija I know?
Yeah, this is Khadija.
Hi, how are you?
And how are you?
Good. I hope you're
God.
doing well with the products you're bringing from Morocco. I hope all is well.
Yeah, I know, but I start, because what happened with this Corona, when I started, you were my mentor, and I want to say thank you very much. You took for me step by step. I appreciate it, what happened before.
So what's your question?
My question is, I want to start now bringing my my line, my kaftan from Morocco.
Okay.
And then I want to start the process and everything there, because I was going to go to Morocco because I could not go now. And then I'm doing what I have to do to bring my inventory. Okay.
Do you have a lot of stuff already made in Morocco?
I have everything ready now.
Okay, so then, so Khadija, I need you then to set up an appointment so we can speak, okay?
Please.
Because I have to give you specific instructions on what to do to bring the things back into the US.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Did you bring anything from the US to Morocco to make this product, or is all the material from Morocco?
No, most of my material is from here. I go to Juventus Center because the company.
Okay, so this is why I ask you this question, because I want to, if you brought the material in and the things were only assembled in Morocco,
yes,
there is a way in which you can say it's US made. So we just need to have this discussion, because I need to look at the percentage of the components that went into the product. Yeah. So set up an appointment and we can go ahead and talk about it,
please,
in detail, so I can give you specific instructions.
Please, thank you very much, Carmen. Then I have very now large inventory to follow.
Okay, so then I look forward to assisting you. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much. It was nice today. It was very interesting class. Very interesting. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Are there any other questions there?
We have Carol asking for the number. Carol, I will insert the number for the center in the chat.
And Carol, you can ask for counseling. You can always, you guys, you can go also and ask for counseling at the can you give them the website, Takea?
I will. Yes, I will.
Give them the website. You know, can you put up the slide with that information? Because the slide that is up is my information. You can send me an email, info@carmenlmorris.com, and with your question also as well. But if you put up the slide with the information, where
Yep,
they
I will right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So everybody can go and set up an appointment. And if you you can specifically say in the export, and they would assign you to me, and we can have a more detailed talk about your plans. Even if you're not, if you haven't yet started, it's even great, because some of the people that I've spoken and have questions here, they have already started their exporting business. They're already exporting to certain countries that you just want to expand. So if you can go ahead and go to this website, set up an appointment, and you get a one-on-one counseling with us. Any other questions before because we have to end the webinar soon, I guess.
Yes, so that was our last question, Carmen.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone. Thank you very much for being on this webinar. As I said, my name is Carmen Morris. It was great having you here today. I look forward to seeing you on other webinars. I do webinars also on establishing your business credit, which is huge for you to do if you are planning on exporting your products to other countries, to have business credit. It is very, very important. Also, I do on sales and marketing. If you need to increase your sales and knowing things about making more sales in your business, you can also attend some of these webinars. Look at our schedule and you see them all there. And I look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Once again, thank you for attending the Leveraging Global Markets as a Way to Grow Your Business.
Yes, thank you so much, Carmen, for that presentation and for your time today.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Before we close out, I just want to remind you all that you will be receiving a video replay as well as the presentation slides within 24 to 48 business hours, so that you can always refer back to the information in the future. And after this webinar, you will see in the browser a survey pop up. If you can just take a few minutes to complete that, that survey will help us to adjust our presentation, as well as give us some information on what kind of assistance you may be needing. So if you have time to complete that, your feedback is very much appreciated. And on that note, we will now end this webinar. I want to thank you all for coming out today. Thank you, Carmen, for your time. I'm sorry. And we look forward to seeing you all at our future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.